Welcome back to K-Ratio's Week in Preview. I'm Kyle Littner and I'm here today to provide actionable insight for the future, not recap the past. In this week's episode, the seasons are changing, but instead of autumn coming up, it appears that freight is headed straight for Christmas. We'll break down what that means for you this week, but first let's take a look at where the freight market currently stands. All good things must end, and freight is no different. For the first time since July 27th, our weekly report will not feature a new record high in the outbound tender volume index, though current levels are only 5% less than the peak set just before Labor Day, and still 47% higher than this point last year. No matter how you view it, volumes continue to exhibit extreme strength. As has been the case, where there are strong volumes, there are high cancellations. Though also off their peak of 26.6%, national tender rejections did not give us the typical post-holiday pullback and remain lofty at 24.9%. This isn't quite counter-seasonal, but 1 out of every 4 load tenders getting rejected is certainly uncommon for mid-September, and when we have strong volumes and elevated rejections, we typically see high rates. We warned you last week that volumes and tender rejections would likely retract, but price could still continue higher, and that has come true. As reported by Truckstop, the national average rate per mile is up another 6 cents from last week to a new all-time high of $2.95. The damage to routing guides has been done, which allows this price trend to continue despite lower volumes and cancellations. The supply of trucks is just not enough to meet the level of load demand, and because trucks cannot simply appear overnight, this imbalance will continue into the foreseeable future. There's been a lot of debate lately on just how much freight is really running through the domestic supply chain, with debaters each selecting their preferred metric, then opining on its merits while trashing others. Rather than wade too far into the murky waters of data source collection and reporting for things like the Cass Index, American Trucking Association, and FreightWaves, I'd prefer to stick to the facts. The latest report on volumes for the Port of LA during the month of August clearly spell out why freight has been so busy. That loaded import container count of 516,000 is nearly 18% better year over year and 6.5% more than the record set in October 2018 during the Great Tariff Pull Forward. Unequivocally, food and grocery volumes are well above historical norms and widely accepted to remain as such in this new COVID world. What's been hotly contested is the current and future flow of goods in our present economy of high unemployment and partially shuttered brick-and-mortar retail stores. Putting aside our opinion of greater consumption by the remaining workforce of disproportionately larger discretionary income, these Port of LA numbers leave no room for debate. There was an enormous amount of goods imported in the month of August, and all of that had to go somewhere, which means it became domestic freight. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to go over the road, it can go intermodal, but that's where the fun begins, because despite being a slower option, that option had its own surge in volume. Total rail container volumes for outbound LA in blue have passed both seasonal norms and historical records and rest well above 2019 in orange and even 2018 in green. So now we have intermodal volumes way up, inventories way down, with the ratio of inventory to sales down more than 20% since April to currently sit at its lowest level in 6 years, and a fresh American Journal of Transportation report that says outbound LA rail bookings are completely full. This leaves us only one option: sending it long haul over the road. And if we look at the National Long Haul Tender Volume Index in blue compared with the long haul volume for LA in green, we see that both are at historic levels, but more importantly, both are in tandem. In freight, as LA goes, so goes the country. This seemingly local issue of heavy volume in LA presents a serious problem for the entire nation. This chart depicting tender rejections shows why. Since the start of 2020, cancellations measured on a relative basis for all of LA are up 181% seen in blue, while cancellations for loads greater than 1,000 miles in orange are up 474%. This has sent outbound LA rates skyrocketing higher, and more volume going long haul redirects more carriers further away from LA, compounding the capacity shortage and increasing the cancellations for long haul routes adds even more fuel to the fire. Some argue 2020 has been an absolute capacity problem, while others insist it's been a capacity dislocation issue. The truth is, both are right. And that's why this current environment of high rates isn't going anywhere anytime soon. What does this mean for freight this week? Carriers were not stuck on repeat, but we are singing the same song again. Outbound LA volumes have stabilized at extremely high levels, but not all loads are created equal. Right now, there's an abundance of long hauls, even to preferred destinations with very high rates, like LA to Dallas averaging 4,300 last week. That's a 110% increase from this time last year. Brokers, not all loads are created equal for you either, and if you're thinking about which ones to give back to your customer or ask for a reprice, keep the backhauls on your books. Yes, the margins are smaller to begin with, but when rates normalize, those will snap back first, plus the higher paying, more volatile lanes are already being repriced with rates higher than your current contract bid. Shippers, I can't believe I'm actually advocating for this, but right now running a mini bid is probably your best move. Putting aside the bottom line for a second, all of this spot business is not healthy from a manpower and resource standpoint. To keep the rates honest, make them firm until your next RFP and penalize any provider who does not fall in line. To stay current with everything freight, follow us on LinkedIn, or for more information on all of our products, especially our freight intelligence platform so your margins don't end up where they are today, check us out at k-ratio.com. Please stay safe and thank you all for watching.